Alright. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Liv. Welcome if you're new, or if you're returning, hi. It's been a while since I filmed a video, been a hot minute. Not going to delve too much into that because you could probably guess that I've just finished A-levels and got all my results and everything, and it's been crazy, but I'm back to filming a video and hopefully it's going to be a good one. But you can probably tell from the title that today I'm going to be going through some personal statement tips for midwifery, specifically because if you are unaware, that's what I've applied for and that's what I'll be going to study in a week or two. It sounds a bit ridiculous, but midwifery is actually really hard to write a personal statement for and to do interviews for and apply for and everything, because so many people apply but the amount of places on courses are so little that if you get onto it, you've hit jackpot. That's why I'm sharing my tips for you to ace your personal statement and get as many interviews as possible. I will hopefully be doing some interview tips as well, because that's also a dreaded part of the whole uni process. So I would like to point out that I applied to Canterbury Christchurch University, King's College London, University of Surrey, London South Bank University and University of Greenwich. Out of those 5, I got 4 interviews. I only didn't get one at King's because I didn't have the grades they required. So that was sad. But then out of those 4 interviews, I got 3 offers, which is pretty crazy for midwifery. I ended up getting an offer at University of Greenwich, London South Bank University and University of Surrey. Next Saturday, actually, I'm filming this on the Friday, the next Saturday, I am moving into London South Bank University to study midwifery and I'm super excited. I don't want to like blow my own horn or anything or whatever the phrase is, but I personally feel like my personal statement tips might be quite good to take from, considering how many interviews and offers I ended up getting. But please, if you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, please leave a like. If you have any questions or any other tips of your own, do leave them down in the comments. And do subscribe. I'll be doing loads of university videos. Do subscribe if that's your sort of content. And without further ado, let's just get on into the video. Now, my first point here just says be yourself, which is very generic and quite sort of cliche, but if you are talking about things in your personal statement that you haven't actually done, and they start questioning you on it in your interview or when you're at university, you know, what's the point? You have to be genuine to yourself and talk about things you've actually done, things you are actually interested in, you know. And it's just one of those things that, because it's a personal statement and they're reading it and they don't actually know you, you feel like you can fabricate a lot of things. Even if you think you sound boring, trust me, there's stuff you can find. When I first started writing my personal statement, there was loads, I'm just broken the pen. There was no stuff I could find about myself to talk about. I was like, I haven't had a job, you know. I was like, I've got nothing to write about, you know, I've had no work experience. And then all of a sudden, all these ideas started coming in. It's like, oh, well, I can talk about this, I can talk about this, I can talk about this, which I will go into later on what I've talked about. So yeah, there is loads of stuff you can find and talk about, and just make sure it's stuff you've actually done. Be yourself, you know. That's my big tip. Secondly, why? Why do you want to do it? That's the whole point of this. Please ignore the dog barking. Yeah, so why do you want to do it? Which I found was the hardest question to answer. Which is strange in a way, because it's like, for me, I don't know what it was. Midwifery was something I'd always wanted to do since I was in primary school, so that was why I applied. But there was no specific reason why I'd gone into it. I'd always had an interest in healthcare, and I watched a few of these personal statement videos, and suddenly it's like, oh, well, I can talk about that. And that's actually a genuine reason, like the whole idea of having an interest in pregnancy. That didn't sound something like you would it didn't sound something like you would write for midwifery, but I wrote that. Very decent answer. That's not the right way of phrasing it, but you know what I mean. Because that is what it's about. You are there caring for pregnant women, their unborn child, their families. You are all these different people, and that was a very sort of genuine answer for me. Pregnancy is such a crazy concept that, you know, a human can grow another human, and that was what I talked about. I think midwifery as well. I also talked about, it's about the woman, you know. It sounds a bit rude when I say this, but it's like you're not dealing with loads of different patients. You are just dealing with women and their child, and you know. So it was very sort of specific to that, and even if it doesn't sound like an answer is why you'd want to go into it, it probably is. So any reasons you have why, always link throughout your personal statement why you want to do it. Just why is the general thing. If you have the why part down, you're good to go with the rest of it. Now, my third point is talk about midwifery. What you're probably saying, Liv, what does that even mean? Don't talk about nursing, and it sounds very basic, but a lot of people will end up confusing nursing and midwifery. But they're two very, very different things. You want to know that you've applied for midwifery and not nursing. You want to show the admissions team that you know what you're talking about. And you know, it's quite common to get mixed up between the two. I've set here and link everything to why it would make you a good midwife. You know, you want to appeal to them. You want them to know. How am I going to phrase this? You're trying to get them to take you on because you want them to know you're going to make a good midwife. Does that make any sense? It made so much more sense in my head, but they don't want to be taking on people who are just there for the uni experience. That you want to show why you are going to make a good midwife. The main one of the big things I would look at is the NHS 6 C's. Bear with me. Care, commitment, communication. There's one. It's not constituency. It's I can't remember the other three. I'm going to put them on screen for you. Link them in some way into it. You know, actually put the 6 C words into your personal statement. I tried to fit as many in as possible. Might have helped me, might not, I don't know, but I genuinely think if you can put them in there, they know you're talking about midwifery, and why you're linking it to be a good midwife, you are sorted, bam. Point 4 I have here is experience sells. Now this is a bit of a tricky one, but I've also written underneath, if it is health specific, even better. But if you have a part-time job in Tesco, try and link that to being a midwife. You know, you are talking to customers on a daily basis, so you have communication skills, you care for your customers, you know, things like that. Link it like that. Perfect. I think if you have something in healthcare, it does look a little bit better, but I'm not saying that they're suddenly going to just favour everyone that's got something in healthcare. If you can link your experience to, you know, the 6 C's, being a good midwife, you're bang on track. I didn't have any experience. The only experience I could really talk about was my work experience working at the London Marathon, but my dad was sort of like, it's very mismatched, don't really put it in. I ended up getting some work experience a couple months ago after I'd had all my offers for uni, but I put in there, you know, I'm doing work experience when I turn 18, where you have these skills that you're taking into the role already. So yeah, that's sort of thing. I think the experience thing just makes sense. A lot of people talk about their part-time jobs, or you know, people who have taken gap years, or if you're maybe one of the later students, you know, you're in your 30s and you've had a job for the past decade or so, talk about that job. Any way it can link is good, you know. Point 5 I have here is personal interests. Now it's very much a sort of, but isn't that a common thing to write about? It's what sort of personal interests you write. I have, my example here is reading around the subject. One of my favourite books that I've read is Hard Pushed by Leah Hazard. Leah Hazard is a midwife. She wrote a book about her experiences. I talked about that, you know. I've done this extra research into the subject, or you know, if you say you've read oh my gosh, why can't I think of any of the midwifery reports? The Ockenden report, that's the one. Better Births. Is Saving Lives one of them? I can't remember, but there's various midwifery reports. I'll put the names of them down below. If you talk, maybe you've read them, what you found interesting from those reports, or books you've read or anything. You know, put some stats in there from what you've read. That's quite good, because it's proving that you've read them and you're not just trying to talk about, which is the same as be yourself, you know. I have actually read them. Look, here's the knowledge I got from it. Another personal interest I had was YouTube. I talked about that in the end because it was really good, because I got to talk about my confidence. And my final point here I have written is certain areas that interest you. And I feel like this is one as well that people would not think about. And it was only one other personal statement video that I watched actually mentioned this, and I thought, oh well, I've got a personal interest in this area. Now, people think midwifery is very general and that it's literally you are delivering a baby and that's it. It's not. There are so many different roles you can go into it, so many different bands, you know, management, so on. There are also different areas such as you can become a specialist in diabetes, you can become a specialist in bereavement, mental health, the list goes on, you know, there's so many different things you can specialise. Teenage pregnancy is another one, but if you have a certain area that interests you and you can talk about it, that's really good. I personally have quite a big interest in the mental health side. I would love to end up specialising in that area. You know, so I talked about that, and I mentioned in, I think it's the Better Births report, how there's currently a lack of funding, and that not many midwives are trained in it, and so on. And you know, I'm using these reports of like, statistics, sorry, of like 46% or whatever. I think 46% is a made up statistic, but you know what I'm trying to say, and different mental health complications. I think that's also a really good way for people who are like me, who are struggling to find topics to bulk up their personal statement. That's a really good one to talk about. If you don't have any areas that interest you and you literally just want to become a midwife, you don't want to specialise in anything, that's fair enough. But I think if you could maybe look at some of these reports and see some of the shocking statistics, you know, maybe talk about that. But yeah, that is all my personal statement tips. My big one is be yourself and why you want to do it. If you can sell those two things, I think you're good to go and you're going to get as many interviews as possible. But yeah, that is everything. I really hope you found this video useful. There'll be loads more university videos coming out very soon. But yeah, that is it, and I will see you in my next video.